Hello, my name is Josh Lee. This is my recording over the legal aspects of teacher evaluation for EDL 851. This is Module 8. So to begin with, a summary of what we read in the text, a couple parts to this. First of all, teacher evaluation is a contentious topic. There's tensions between administrators and teachers when it's not done correctly or it's not done fairly in one person's mind or the other. And there's political tension that deals with education funding, teacher retention practices, teacher evaluation practices. Comes up every year in the state of Kansas, especially where the argument is that teachers aren't paid enough or the funding isn't enough for education. And then on the other side of that, we want teachers evaluated. We want good teachers. U.S. laws like ESSA, or the Every Student Succeeds Act, and Race to the Top have affected the way evaluations are done. For example, Race to the Top asking that student growth measures or student data be a part of teacher evaluations in order to receive certain funding levels. The current evaluation procedures are seen by some as being inaccurate and ineffective. There's a multitude of reasons for this. Little things such as admin not being able to be subjective enough with the teacher, having bias towards a certain teacher. I talked about growth measures being a problem with this. You could talk about teachers who feel like they're seen one day and it's not a reflection of what they actually do. There's a lot of reasons that people feel like they're inaccurate, there can be ineffective, and teachers don't learn from them. Inclusions of student growth measures or student data, student test data is something that's been hotly contested. People who are for it would argue that it's more objective. It's not something that somebody just thinks, well, I think I saw this. You actually have numbers in front of you. It helps you understand if teachers are effective or not. If the students aren't making progress or growing, teachers probably aren't that effective. And because of those reasons, it should be included to be part of what those teachers' data is in their evaluations. On the other side of that, they'd argue that it doesn't take into account many other factors that influence student growth. For example, student motivation, student income, family income levels. Did that student have breakfast that day? Little things that can affect if a student makes progress. A student has one bad day on a test, and that teacher's evaluation is a problem. That could be an issue. They also argue that they've been implemented unfairly in some cases. There's many examples of that, and we read about situations where certain schools have only a certain number of teachers who get to reach a certain level, or because of student growth measures being included, teachers are unwilling to collaborate because why would I want to give you my great lesson because then your data will beat out my data, and I don't want that, which creates a negative environment in the school in general. So at my school, USD 262, teacher evaluation process, we use the McCrell system. It rates teachers on 5 different categories with a bunch of subcategories for each one. Teachers are evaluated twice per year, and every evaluation involves one planned visit and one unannounced visit where the principal just shows up for a lesson. Each of those visits is a principal staying for the entirety of a class lesson. This is for the first few years, teachers have that 2 evaluations per year. Once you become an experienced teacher, you're evaluated 1 time per year, and that evaluation still consists of 1 planned visit and 1 unannounced observation. After each observation, ratings are done in the entire McCrell system. And then at the end of the entire process, there's 1 summary rating of what the principal saw for the entirety of the year. There's a lot of paperwork involved, there's a lot of ratings involved, and a lot of things are difficult to show. Teachers can use artifacts from their classroom to add into their ratings if they feel like there are areas that they do, but the principal didn't observe them. And so they want to show that, I do this and I do this well. Here's an example of how I do it. That can be added into the system to help increase our ratings in spot in one place or another. So what to do at USD 262 if your evaluation is inaccurate or you feel like you had an inaccurate evaluation or you've got a poor evaluation? So first of all, if there are deficiencies that are found during the evaluation, the principal is going to schedule with you a re-evaluation. You're going to be seen another time. You may put on a plan of assistance, and that would be put in place to have things that you're supposed to work on over the course of the next year in order to improve yourself as a teacher. VCNEA, which is our Valley Center National Educators Association group, can assign a peer teacher or a peer assistant teacher to be part of this process. And that peer teacher is just there to make sure things are done correctly. So they're going to sit in and help in making the improvement plan or the assistance plan that the teacher's going to try to follow. And they're going to sit in on those teacher administrator conferences to make sure that just things are done correctly, the teacher's represented correctly, and the teacher is getting every chance they can to do things right. If there are formal complaints that are brought from, parents or students or whoever against a teacher, they can be part of the evaluation if they were brought to the teacher's attention within 10 days of the complaint being made. So if somebody makes a formal written complaint against you, as long as you're shown that complaint or it's brought to your attention within 10 days, it can be part of your evaluation. As a teacher, you have a right to see your file, things that are in it, like those complaints, and respond to anything contained in that file. And if you do a written response to anything in that file, that becomes part of your teacher file as well, and can be part of your evaluation. So then the next step is, okay, so if you've had a poor evaluation, maybe the chances are you aren't going to be brought back. And here's what to do if you feel like you've been unjustly let go at USC 262. So this accounts for if you've been on the staff for at least 4 years of successful teaching at Valley Center. If you followed that and now you're being non-renewed, you can request a meeting with the superintendent and the evaluator, whatever principal it is that's in charge that's done your evaluation, to discuss the reasons for the non-renewal. After this meeting where you've discussed these reasons, the superintendent will make the final call on if that non-renewal will go on to the school board. If the non-renewal does go to the school board and the board agrees that, yes, we're going to go through with this non-renewal, then you would need to file a written request with the school board within 10 days. You need to notify the board in this request if you plan to have legal counsel or witnesses who will be present at a meeting with them. The board's going to schedule the meeting with you for no later than their next scheduled meeting. This will take place in executive session at the next board meeting. So they're going to meet separately from the rest of the meeting to discuss your situation. The board's going to talk about the reasons for the non-renewal. They don't have all the reasons. They're going to get to what the superintendent, what the administrator has told them as far as why you're being non-renewed. As a teacher, you'll have 20 minutes to respond to whatever they tell you. This is where your legal counsel comes in. This is where your witnesses can come in as well to talk about why you should be renewed. The board will make a final decision within 10 days after this meeting and let you know if you're being renewed or not. We were asked to go over a legal case, and it's interesting, I was able to use a legal case that happened in my school district. So the case is Janet Decker versus USD 262 Valley Center Schools. And it's a situation where a teacher sued the district to get their job back and to get back pay that they felt like they were owed for the time that they were terminated until the time of the end of the court case. Basically, the teacher was non-renewed after being on a plan of assistance for a year. She was not given due process. It was not a law for teachers to be allowed due process at this time. This would have been after the Kansas State Legislature had eliminated due process rights for teachers. So, the school board, on their side, felt like they followed the current teacher contract. The teacher had been on a plan of assistance for a year, had not followed through with what was on the plan of assistance, and so they felt justified in going forward with the non-renewal. Her legal counsel felt that the plan of assistance was not something that was possible, could not have been accomplished in 1 year, and so it was really kind of just a joke to have her on that. At the same time this case was going on, KNEA was challenging the elimination of due process rights all the way to the state Supreme Court. Basically, their argument was you can't have two different topics on the same legal bill, and the legislature had put a school funding legislation in the same bill as a due process elimination topic, and those were two different and shouldn't have been included in the same thing. They were making that argument, and they had gone through case and case and case all the way up to the state Supreme Court. The Valley Center teacher was kind of relying on this because if the state Supreme Court had said that no, you can't get rid of due process, she would have been deserving of having due process and possibly would have won her case. However, the state Supreme Court decided that those two topics were close enough that they could go ahead and keep them on the same bill. In other words, KNEA lost their state Supreme Court battle. Once KNEA lost their battle, the local courts threw out the case against Valley Center Schools, saying that you weren't owed due process. There's no grandfathering into due process rights. So as long as the teacher contract was followed, it was okay to go through with a non-renewal. As a school leader, in order to keep up on this and make sure I do the right things, there are several steps I wrote down as things I would want to take care of. First of all, I need to know my building's contract with their teachers backwards and forwards. This is especially true for the portions that deal with non-renewal, that deal with teacher evaluation. That's a contract agreed to by the district as well as all the teachers. So as long as I follow that contract to the T when going through with poor evaluations or non-renewals, I should be in the clear. I also want to stay up to date on current legal issues that relate to teacher evaluation and retention. You can't really tell when the state legislature is going to bring up this topic as part of some other bill. So I need to be fully aware of what's happening at the state level or national level on laws dealing with these topics to make sure that I follow those laws in my building. I want to communicate openly with teachers throughout their evaluation process. Teachers want somebody who's going to be open in communication with them. Teachers want to be told the truth and not sugarcoated things. So I want to be open with teachers and talk to them, let them know what I think. And then we're going to communicate openly with district level administration as well, especially when it regards potential negative evaluations, potential non-renewals. I want to make sure that I follow our district's policy. And obviously looking at the contract is going to give me those ideas. But as long as I stay open with district level administration and I let them know when some issues may come up and they can help guide me through those things, especially at the beginning of my career as an administrator, I feel like I should be pretty safe there. As long as I follow those things, I think I'm going to be on the right side of what's happening and able to stay on top of any possible negative evaluations, possible non-renewals that could be issues for me as a building leader. Thank you.